to start with telling you about a shocking drug trend that's popping up across America. You may never have heard of it. It's a chemical that I suppose ladies use for bubble baths or something. It's called bath salts. But despite the harmless name, these are vicious and dangerous drugs.
In fact, President Obama has signed a federal ban on bath salts. Lori Johnson has this look at the impact these drugs can have.
It's hard to imagine why anyone would want to take bath salts. The user appears to be in sheer agony, like this 19-year-old Florida boy whose behavior is typical of what police have been dealing with.
I think this kid was a normal kid walking around maybe the week before.
People high on bath salts are highly agitated, paranoid, and strong beyond belief. This man ripped off his clothes and nearly overpowered 4 police officers.
But you gotta chill out a minute.
As you can see, police have great difficulty restraining people high on bath salts. Users are unpredictable and, worst of all, extraordinarily violent. Bath salts are supercharged speed. They ramp you up like a mixture of cocaine and methamphetamine. They're cheap, and the people who make them are tricky by constantly changing the ingredients. And bath salts are sold as products not intended for consumption, so they're not as strictly regulated as food or drugs. But they are consumed, making the user a danger to everyone, including themselves.
I could easily imagine that this would lead to a sensation, many different sensations. One would be that you'd like to maybe tear your skin. I've heard about that, ripping your clothes.
Although previous bans on bath salts did little to prevent their use, the new federal law is the first to clamp down on internet sales and distribution across state lines. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Thanks, Lori. Isn't it simply amazing what human beings will do to themselves? Why would anybody in his right mind ingest something like that? Why will somebody sniff glue? Why will they do these things? They say, well, they get a high. Well, big deal. But they destroy themselves. Terrible. Well, we are not meant to be slaves of substances, of chemicals and plants and fruit. We're supposed to be in charge of the world. That's the way God made us, to have dominion. Well, Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee, what do you have?
Pat, a new government report finds that Obamacare will be far more expensive than the president promised when he championed the bill 3 years ago. The Senate Budget Committee study says spending will come to $2.6 trillion in the first full decade of the new law. President Obama said it would cost around $900 billion. This report came as the House voted once again to repeal the health care law. Every Republican opposed it, so did 5 Democrats. Republicans say the law will cost jobs, raise taxes on 20 million Americans, and cripple the health care system. Democrats, though, accuse Republicans of playing politics and wasting time with the vote.
Repeal it and replace it. For the 31st time, we have a repeal with no replacement.
This is a law, Madam Speaker, that the American people did not want when it was passed, and it remains a law that the American people do not want now.
Republicans in the Senate want to hold a similar vote in the upper chamber. The White House says the president would veto any measure to repeal. The Navy is sending undersea drones to help clear mines out of the Strait of Hormuz. The underwater craft will help minesweeping ships and helicopters. The LA Times reports that the top U.S. Navy commander in the Middle East made an urgent request for the additional help. The U.S. is concerned that Iran may launch or support attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Some 20% of the world's oil travels through that narrow sea passage. U.S. officials are looking into the British financial scandal involving interest rates. 2 congressional committees want to know what American regulators knew about charges that Barclays Bank in the UK was manipulating a key international interest rate. That rate is called LIBOR. It stands for London Interbank Offered Rate. It helps set short-term rates around the world, and it influences mortgages and other loans here and abroad. British and U.S. authorities have already fined Barclays $453 million for providing false information to people that calculate LIBOR. Pat?
Well, to add to that particular story, there's some word that Timothy Geithner, our Secretary of the Treasury, may well have known what was going on some time ago. How is this thing set? Here again, there are about 5 primary banks in England, and every day they say these are the estimated interest rates that we would be receiving or charging or whatever, or paying, for money. And they send submissions in, and there's a team of 2 people who sit in a kind of a dingy office, and they calculate what these numbers are, and they put out that key indicator. You say, well, who cares about London Interbank offered rate? Well, I guarantee you that somewhere along the way you've got a contract, we've certainly got them here, that's based on LIBOR. It's 3 points over LIBOR, 2 points over LIBOR, 0.75 over LIBOR. That's the way you do things. It used to be prime. Prime doesn't mean anything anymore. But LIBOR is the key. So if a bank can jigger the numbers, fiddle, they say, with the numbers, they can make millions of dollars for themselves and cost the world economy maybe up to trillions of dollars, because it's an $800 trillion situation where derivatives and other things are keyed off LIBOR. So the fact that Barclays and other these banks were playing games with this key indicator is very serious. And people who say, well, that doesn't make any difference to me. Yes, it does. Your mortgage, your car loans, everything is keyed off of LIBOR. So anyhow, maybe they'll get it straight, but if it's found out that the Treasury Secretary knew about this and didn't do anything, that is even more appalling.
A federal judge continues to block a Mississippi state law that threatens to shut down the state's only abortion clinic. The law would require anyone performing an abortion to be an OBGYN with the ability to admit patients to a local hospital. Doctors at the Mississippi clinic do not have those privileges, and a judge blocked the law back in July. But on Wednesday, he extended that order. If it closes, the closest abortion clinic will be 200 miles away. A group of Christians has evacuated the Syrian city of Homs to avoid the violence in that area. A Greek Orthodox priest says more than 100 civilians, including 63 Christians, have left for their safety. The Syrian army and rebels reached an agreement allowing civilians trapped in 2 besieged neighborhoods to leave. Christians make up about 10% of Syria's 22 million population. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.